Hello, I'm William Gallagher, and this is a cold. But we're writers, right? We use what we've got. And this time, right alongside this cold, which is really affecting my voice, I happen to have a reasonably busy week. I want to talk about making time for our writing. And since I've just been looking at what I have to do, what I can push off until when this man flu is over, I would like to show you, please, a visual way of organising your thoughts about a week, which works even when you're very fuzzy, which I think works. Well, let's find out. As I underthink it and do it all in a mind map on my iPad. There are, of course, lots of apps that you can use this on mind mapping, but I'm using MindNode, although actually, I'll explain later at the end, I'm using quite an old version of MindNode. And while you can do this on Macs and iPhones, there is MindNode for those. I'm choosing to do it on an iPad because I like iPads, and also so that I can wave about my Apple Pencil while I think. Although my handwriting, what can you do? Now, I'm making a starting point here, a node for what I know must be done this week, and also now a node for what I would want to do. I think this is all probably expendable, but let's put it in. What do I want to do? What do I want to write this week? And then also, what can I drop? What can I get rid of? I need to go back on something. I'm not going to have you sit through me writing out my entire to-do list for the week, but here for an example is one obvious thing. You're watching 58 Keys, and these are the main things I have to do for 58 Keys every week. Some of them are for 58 Keys Patreon things, and you like that tip, and there's a particular Friday email, but let's skip around. I'm editing a magazine, for example, for this company. I'm willing to skip exercise this week, unbelievably. And here's a definite one thing. I have a new iPad coming, and obviously I want to set it up and use it, but clearly it's not it's pretty essential, isn't it? Yeah, but you're right, it isn't. Back to can drop. I can drop theatre, and I know I can drop theatre because I have. I ought to be at the Birmingham Rep watching Matt Parker's Getting Triggy with It. Sure. But then I can also drop this training thing. I can move it to a new node, postpone, because it needs to be done. But as it happens, the person I'm working with on this training isn't around this week. So why did I even have it on my list? I do not know. And can batch. This is a new thought. There are certain things like, you see the writing section there. Why don't I just write everything in one go, get it all done? Although, to be specific, Apple Insider podcast there this week, it happens that will involve some writing before the recording. So yeah, it's not all writing, really. But you can kind of see how I would string together all the writing in one go and then go on to recordings. I might be able to, write loads of things and then use it all. And there, really, I'm just moving around here. Here's Theatre and Royal Television Society Awards. I truly, truly do not want to drop RTS awards, but there's travel involved, there's a lot of time. It might be necessary to drop it. We'll have to see. Let's move over to the want stuff, because I think already this looks better to me than it did. It's a shorter list of musts, and the batching node is totally quite encouraging to me. I think because it's just not too much. You're like, yeah, I can do that. Part of all this is seeing the overview, and to help that, I can move around the whole can batch thing. You can drag an entire node like this, but then like that, you just tuck one item out of the way so it's neater and you can see everything on the screen. As well as rearrange so you can merge. So in fact, with some reluctance, let's merge want with can drop, because yeah, I can, really. I'm thinking now more about what I can postpone, thinking about that more than anything else, because part of postpone is when can you postpone them to. And as soon as I say that to you, as soon as I think that, really, I realise I haven't made any notes about when any of the must happen. Some of them are meetings, so they must happen on certain days at particular times. BBC Radio Berkshire there, when I do that, it's always on a Friday, so that obviously goes there. That Norway meeting is scheduled for Monday, so when else is it going to go, really? And Wednesday meeting with Chloe, we'll take a guess. But then actually, all of this Norway stuff is related. The meeting and the other work I'm doing with that company, so that should be going on at the same time. That helps, drag that there. Similarly with Apple Insider, I've got to start that work on Monday, and the Apple Insider podcast always records on Thursdays. You get the idea of this, really. Of course you do. But maybe because I'm laying it all out like this, I'm actually feeling more confident that I can manage more than I thought in the week. So actually this batch part, these are things that I kind of need to do, but not necessarily at certain times, within limits anyway. So I'm just popping them together, and now really all I'm doing is shoving this stuff around while I think. I should tell you, I spent 50 minutes doing this, which, well, was a long time, especially while I was sneezing, but it has made the rest of the week feel more manageable. So it's worth that time. It was worth that time. Plus, doesn't it all just look easier when it's smaller like that? Since I am feeling more confident from this mind map, more sure that I'm going to get all the musts done, let me look at what else I can do on each day. I'm thinking about the can postpone stuff. I mean, what's the point of postponing something if you then just do it anyway? But still, need to think about this. Well, in fact, Wednesday is actually when the iPad arrives, so that could go there. But no, I do need to cut back this week. So I'm going to make a next week section. Training, like I say, the guy I work with comes back next week, so, well, that's when we'll do it. Spark magazine. Now, that's a much bigger job, but I checked the dates on my calendar just now, and that can start next week. At a push, it can. But the original mess I had of everything on my mind and pressing down on me has become quite a bit more manageable. It's become quite a bit more organised, or at least a little bit more organised. Enough so that I've taken this off the can drop and moved it because I really do want to do it. As I said, in reality, this all took me 50 minutes, so it's not a casual job. And you can well argue that I should have spent that hour or whatever it was doing some of these things instead of pushing them around on a map. Yet it was very reassuring, not to say satisfying. Actually, when I got to this stage, this is what I've ended up with. Obviously, you don't have my to-do list, you have yours. Look at the quality of information I have for you. And hopefully you don't have a cold. But taking a step back at any time to look at the week, it's helping me while I have man flu. I think it can always help us see what we've got on, and so when we can make the time to write. Although, if you were paying attention to all of this, you might well have noticed that there wasn't anything in there about writing other than the various commissions and commitments I have. I honestly thought I was going to add prepare book for agent to at least the want, if not the must, section, and I simply didn't. I think that was my brain telling me I would not do it well enough if I tried this week. But then, everything you just saw, it was about that hour on Sunday, and Sunday's gone by. It all did what I needed then. It sorted out my head at that point, but there was more. There can be more. You can do this. You can export a visual map from MyNode into just about anything, and I popped it into Omni Outliner, and I've been working through that since. Here I could continue moving things around, but I could also just open a day and see what must be done then. You could go further, of course, and add all of this into a to-do app like OmniFocus. We've got to tell you, I was so fussy this week, I couldn't figure out quite how to do that. So Nah, but there is also the fact that every one of these tasks is already in OmniFocus waiting for me to tick them off when they're done, and I would confuse myself. I know I would with the duplication. So for a more kind of low energy week, I've just left it here as a list in Omni Outliner. I'm not going to be embarrassed later about being fuzzy with cold because I'm embarrassed now, but if this was useful to me this week, imagine how it might be useful for you or me any week. We need to get writing done, which means we need to get everything done. I'm a little shocked actually at how easily I let my own writing projects go on this plan, but then part of this is figuring out what you can manage, in every sense, what you can manage in a week. One thing, I said that I was using an old version of MindNode. I think I bought this app at least 8 years ago, and since then it's obviously been developed much further, but it's also become a subscription app, kind of. As if to pick on my fuzziness, there's now a free MindNode Classic app which might well do everything you've just seen, but there's also MindNode Next, which does a lot more, and I'm not really clear what the more is, but there's lots of more. I know it was definitely worth it for me to buy this app back in the day, but given that I maybe use it 3 or 4 times a year, I don't know that I would have gone for it to pay a subscription for it. I mean, it's only $2.99 a month, pounds or dollars, or $24.99 a year. So, but you know, these things add up. But also, MindNode Classic and this newer MindNode Next are available, at least in part, on Setup, the $10 a month service that gets you those and 200 odd more Mac apps and some iPhone ones. I actually do subscribe to Setup. I should look into MindNode Next on that sometime. Possibly not today. Now, it's been very good talking to you. I hope I haven't given you the cold, but what do I need to do? Right, I've got a meeting, haven't I? Okay, that'll go well. But first, let me say thank you for watching. Send Lemsip. Take better care of yourself than I have. Send more Lemsip. More importantly, write more than I am writing. And I'll see you soon.